Hello everybody, I'm Judy Satori and I'm absolutely thrilled to be coming to Ireland. You know, Stephanie Kenniswarren and Kelly Kenniswarren, they invited me to Ireland in 2019. I met them in Bosnia and they also came to New Zealand because they read Sunshine Before the Dawn, my book about star beings. And my own story really is Issa, a Syrian woman who was responsible for the original creation of the human being. And so that really is why I'm coming, because for a long time now, about 25 years, I've been working with spirit, and for 20 of them, I've been speaking these languages called the language of light. And I speak multidimensional languages that I didn't know that I could ever speak. I was never taught to speak them. They just happened. And so I guess what I really want to get across to everybody is that we, all of us, have so many gifts and abilities and wisdom and knowing within us that we may not even realize that we can access. And part of my purpose and mission in coming to Ireland is to speak energy words which act like catalyst codes, triggers to help people access their own authentic truth and step into doing what they're meant to be doing. So I really am thrilled to be able to come. Looking forward to exploring Ireland. I want to go to Skellig Michael because I feel that there's a strong connection there. You know, a lot of energy is going to be coming forth from the Archangel Michael line as it begins in Skellig Michael and runs through Europe. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really excited to meet some of you, and I'll be going to be talking to Hazel, Grogan in a moment, because I want to invite you to come to a free evening that I'm holding on Tuesday, the 30th of May, and it's going to be at the City North Hotel at County Meath. You're all warmly invited, and my purpose is to help people activate their own truth, really. And I look forward to talking with you and answering your questions. Thank you so much.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Hazel. It's lovely to see you and be with you
again. I know. I mean, it's been too long. It feels like the last time we met, which was 2019, it feels like it was last year.
Yes.
The whole experience that we had of our lockdown, everything went on a bit of a go slow. So we physically have met in person a couple of times. So I know and understand and love your energy. And I'm loving the fact that you are coming back to Ireland. So you are coming back to Ireland to do a tour here, which is super exciting. And you're coming back with my sister-in-law, Stephanie Kenniswarren. She's married to my brother, Kelly. And Starlit Therapies, starlitttherapies.ie is running that event with you, and you're going to go and do a few days of looking at the sites in Ireland, all the sacred sites in Ireland, and also having a masterclass, and we'll go through all of what you do. So for everyone else out there, I'm Hazel Kenniswarren, Hazel Grogan, and I am from Halo Therapies, and I am introducing you to the most amazing channel, my favorite, Judy Satori. And Judy Satori is an international recognized spiritual teacher. She is a multi-dimensional channel, sound healer, and ascension way shower, and she is from New Zealand. Her spiritually guided role during Earth's ascension process is to energetically upgrade people so that they can fulfill their own purpose and do what they have come to do on this planet. So Judy is a light language channeler, and people who know me, I also do that also in my work. And Judy is one of my favorite channels. I've been watching, and I've read her book in 2012. That was my original introduction to Judy. Judy's book is Sunshine Before the Dawn. She wrote that in, Judy, 2011. Is that what you said?
Yes.
2011. And that was where I got my very first introduction to Judy, and only because at the time I was starting to channel light language and I didn't understand what it was about. And I was directed to Judy's book, and that's where our connection started. So Judy, welcome. How are you, my dear?
Thank you very much, Hazel. And it's actually so exciting for me to be coming back to Ireland because I just loved it last time I was there. I was there only for 4 days, and this time I'm planning to have a bit of a look around. And do you have a connection? Remind me, do you have a connection? Is there an Irish connection in your family? Yes. I would say I'm about half Irish in terms
Okay.
of my ancestry.
Okay.
My grandparents, my great-grandparents came from Ireland to New
Amazing.
Zealand. And, you know, when I came to Ireland in 2019, I really felt at home because of the mannerisms of my grandfather and my great aunts
Yes.
and how they spoke. It was very, well, they're Irish, you see.
Yeah.
So it was I felt very at home. It was
Yeah.
very special.
And where are they from in Ireland?
They're from, they're actually from Northern Ireland.
Amazing.
But I feel at home wherever I go in Ireland. I think I feel more affinity to Southern Ireland actually, because I feel very connected to the ancient ones and the spirits of the land, the she and the sacred sites and the special energy that I think is very, very, particularly in Southern Ireland, I feel. But
And that's why you're going to come back now to do the Sacred Sites tour with Stephanie and Kelly. And you're also here to do an actual workshop, so workshop for people. So I know that when I was linking in with Stephanie, she said that your first day you have decided, which is your Tuesday night, which is the 30th of May, decided to let people come to that for, is a donation or is it free?
It's free. If people want to give a donation to cover the cost of the room, that's fine. But it's actually, I just have come to Ireland because I really want to help people step up and be who they really are inside. You know, we all have this feeling. I think many of us have a feeling that there's so much more that we could do, but we just don't know how, and we don't know what's inner urge that we hear on this planet at this time in these bodies teaching about ascension. And this is about the activation potential for a long time now, 25 years. People alive today are here for a purely have to be a international teacher type purpose. The purpose is just to step into the truth of their own soul and work through their heart and to really become the person that they authentically are within. So what I do is that I work with spirit. I'm really used as a conduit, a catalyst to bring energy through my body and through my voice to help people step into their own authentic truth and do what they've come to do. So I think, Hazel, a lot of people today have this feeling of maybe I just want to do something, but I don't know what it is. I have this feeling, this calling inside that there's something that I need to be doing with my life. And I don't know if people understand how to thrive in today's world. Really trust the process that we're going through, every one of us, as we move that are going on within us and come out the other side. Because my spiritual guides always say to me, life should be about being happy and well and joy and peace and light. And so my purpose as a channel is to help touch people with their energy of what is authentic and true.
Do you find, which I noticed myself, because in 2012 when I started to channel, I was very I didn't realize what it was. I didn't know what it was. So because I didn't really have a clue of what channeling was, and I was only introduced to channeling in English, where I've heard Bashar and Lee Carroll, Cryon, the Sarah Richards, Wendy Richardson, who does the Pleiadians. They all channeled in English. They never really channeled in light language. So what I was channeling was a coding, a light coding, like what you do. So it was very different. And I was really afraid to do it. My guides kept saying, do it, do it, do it. And I really noticed the difference of how the session, because my therapies are Reiki. So I really noticed the difference of how differently the session goes when you start to channel over the person, and especially into the heart. I always want to channel into the heart they use my fingers to tap into the heart. I know Stephanie does the same. They use the fingers to open up the heart chakra, and then they use the light codes or the light words to open the coding that's in the heart space. And I really feel that's a really big, massive shifting in a session compared to just doing an energy session.
Oh, totally, totally, because the heart energy, the love energy is like a catalyst to open us into our truth, to open us into who we are. And really, when we talk about channeling, every person on the planet is a channel, because we're all connected to spirit. We're connected to multidimensional energies, multidimensional beings. We've got a physical body, but we're also an energy being. And so because we're energy beings, we can connect with other energies really easily.
Yes.
And, you know, my first ever introduction to spirit is when I went to a Learn to Channel course. And it was 25 years ago. And I met, like I felt the energy of, and I saw in my inner sight, tall, dark man with a purple robe, and it sounds a bit weird, but he was my first introduction to being able to connect to other beings in other worlds and other dimensions. And since working with this being who told me his name was Balthazar, and I discovered that he was one of the Magi, one of the three wise men that was there at the birth of Jesus. See, these guides, these spiritual beings, spiritual entities, they connect with us to help us progress on our path and do what we're here to do. They're just guides for us in our own journey, really. So in my journey 25 years ago, I started working with many ascended masters and many angels and other beings, and then also other beings from other worlds, other dimensions of reality, from out from off the earth. But so it was a process, but all of us as human beings, we can do this.
Yes.
And it is through the heart, because the heart is like the gateway, the love that we create in the heart.
Yeah. I mean, we are, as humans, we don't use our full potential anyway, but I think because of the shifting that's happening, people are now starting to, and I think you and me both are seeing this, where especially in the last few years experience, where people are now starting to move into not back to, but we always knew we could do all of these modalities of healing, all of these gifts that we have already innately within us. We already have clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance. These gifts we already have. And people don't understand it. They think they need to be born with it or be a seventh son or a seventh son, or that has to be gifted to us, where we all actually have it. And so many of my clients who are getting on the bed can't believe how quickly they open the heart and how quickly they become channels. It's like activating each of us, or activating each other to awaken each of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, Hazel, this is the time. Yes. This is the time for people to open to their own gifts, soul, to their own gifts. Yeah. And this is helping to activate soul DNA memory.
Yes.
Being locked away within us through many, many lifetimes. Yes. And this is the lifetime to bring it out and to truly step into our truth and our real power. Because every person is powerful. Every person has ability. Every person is just ready to open to the knowing, the knowledge and the wisdom that they have always had, but they've just forgotten.
Yes. And I know I work a lot with Jesus myself and his energies, and he said, I am the master healer, but so are you, and so is he, and so is she. Yeah. That we all have these gifts, that God is within every one of us. We are all children of God. And when people understand that, you change it to, especially because we're here in Ireland, and there's lots of the systems in play with the religion and our educational system. We've had a lot of where it was conditioned into us that only one person, and this person was put on this pedestal. When we actually bring it down to a human level, where we all put ourselves on the same level as Jesus, and we're not saying like we are as amazing as him, but we put ourselves on the same level, that we can all do exactly what he did. And he says that in the Bible, that we can all do exactly what he did, because we are all children of God.
Exactly. I totally agree. And it's like, as Jesus will do and more. And honestly, this is the time. I feel that there's an energy beyond what we've known, and what we are all going into new capacities, new abilities. We're opening to new capacities and new abilities. If you may or may not believe in past lives, but I happen to.
Yeah.
Sunshine Before the Dawn.
Yes.
And that was a book that I remembered, really. It was dictated to me. It was a book about a woman from Sirius called Enya. And when I was writing the book, it was like on a screen in my mind. When I wrote the story, that we all have our stories. We all have our own past stories, and sometimes it's good to remember the stories of our own soul's past, because that helps us understand that we are not just this Judy person or this Hazel person in this body in this lifetime. We're so much more than this. And this time on the planet between 2020 and 2033 is the time for like taking the blinkers off, really, and seeing life through new eyes, of the illusion of how we have perceived ourselves as human people, going beyond this.
Yeah, and again, maybe it again is the conditioning that was being played, that we were led to believe that we weren't as good as. And now we're having to step back into our power, and we see across the board so many people, especially the women. I mean, most of my clients, 95% of my clients are women. So many of them stepping back into their power of these amazing healers, because many times over, one of my other modalities is past life regression. So I do QHHT, and I have done so many sessions on women who have gone back into past lives where they were witches and foragers and druids and shamans, and they worked with the land, and then they were burned at the stake for doing those things, and then that fear comes into the next life, and then they don't want to step in and do it because they're really fearful, and that's ingrained in their cells. And like really trying to unlock that. And a lot of my clients who are my guides say, tell them to activate their own light codes. How many times before have we been healers before where we have the light codes already in our body, we just have to want to turn them back on?
We do have to want to turn them back on, and that's where the heart, the love comes in. Because when we go into the heart space, we open the capacity to go into these other memories of self. And I want to tell you one story, and this is interesting, because when I was probably 30 years ago, I went to a naturopath, and he put a quartz crystal on my heart. I was a bit depressed at the time, see, and he put a quartz crystal on my heart, and he said, breathe into the quartz crystal. So, excuse me, so I breathed into the crystal, and he said, what, your body wants to remember something. And he said, your body is not your last past life, it's 2 lives back. So I breathed into the crystal, and what I started to do was I started to speak in an Irish accent. And this is like an Irish brogue. I couldn't possibly, in my New Zealand accent, put that on. I couldn't possibly do it. But I remembered a lifetime that I'd had in the 1840s during the time of the potato famine in Ireland.
Amazing.
And it was, I want to come to Southern Ireland because I know it was there. It was somewhere, and touches my heart to go there, really.
And that's it. There's lots of memories that we have in our bodies. There's lots of memories that we have, and they're really coming back to the surface. I definitely notice that a lot of us are really accessing the higher self much easier. Like the oversoul, the 8th chakra is so heightened at the moment, and people are just. I've had so many clients in the last 6 months that are going back in past lives within 5 minutes of getting on the bed for a Reiki session. So they weren't coming for past lives, but the minute they get on the bed, they're like, oh, I see myself as an Apache. And they just go in. And like I have to keep trying to go get my phone to record the session, because that's normally a different session. But I definitely believe that people who are going to be brought to me are going to be brought to me, whether it is to unlock with a light code, or whether it's to do with the light language, or whether it is to show them where the life they've had before and where they're holding the energy in this life now.
Yes, and I totally agree. I think when we don't stay in those past lives. Yes. We can reconnect to those past lives because they teach us something that is helpful to us in this life. Yes. They help us to go beyond that block or that limitation, which, as you quite rightly say, is often trapped in the cells of cellular memory of the body. Yes. So when we unblock that cellular memory, we just feel freer, we feel lighter. Yes. And it's a bit like a snake shedding a skin. A snake skin. Every time we release and we feel lighter, we shed another layer of the old karmic snake skin.
Yes,
like karmic. This is like karmic trauma energy that is locked into the cells of the body. Yes. So that's pretty
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, we go back to your book. I've read your book about 4 or 5 times. Every time I read Sunshine Before the Dawn, I get something different. And it's like every single time I read Sunshine Before the Dawn, there's always a purge that happens afterwards. It's like even the light coding by reading the words in the book does something within my body. I don't know whether it does that for everyone else.
It actually does. That's what my spiritual guides have told me, because the words in Sunshine Before the Dawn are coded.
Yes.
So when people read them, they're taking the energy into their eyes. Yes. And it's, even though it's my story about a Syrian woman called Enya, and it's my life story, yes, when people read the book, it actually activates their own past life stories.
Yes.
And it's interesting, Hazel, because right now, when I go back to New Zealand, I'm actually rewriting Sunshine Before the Dawn, because there's new parts that I want to add to the story that 10 years ago I didn't know.
Yes, yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah. And when you were writing that book, you said that you wrote that book. Was it writing it because you were seeing it in your mind and you were writing it by telling the story, or was it automatic writing, that it was automatically just flowing out as you were typing or writing?
It was like I heard it in my mind, like I was taking dictation.
Yeah.
And how it happened was that I lived at the time in upstate New York in USA,
yeah,
near a lake. And I was sitting on the deck looking at the lake one night, and I saw a large ball of light, like an orb of light, hovering above the lake. And as I was pretty gobsmacked by that, really. And I looked at the ball of light, and an energy came and it hit me in the throat, and it just about knocked me over. Mm-hmm. And then I heard someone talking to me in my mind, and he told me he was the commander of a spaceship, and that ball of light was some sort of landing craft or something, like surrounded by the light. And he said, this commander of the spaceship said, "We're coming soon to tell you a story. We want you to write it down and share it with others." So 4 months later, in January of the next year, I saw the ball of light above the lake again.
Nice.
And then I heard the words, "It's time to get up and write." Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't that keen on that because it was midwinter in upstate New York and it was cold. But I did, after I kept hearing the voice. And the first words that I wrote on the computer screen were "The Dreamers." And the story that was dictated to me was the story of the original creation of the human being around 100,000 years ago. It was a story about a meeting. It began with a meeting of the Galactic Council of this Milky Way galaxy on a star called Antares. And they were discussing a problem concerning Earth, because Earth, way back in time, around 650 odd years ago, was a place called Tara, T-A-R-A, which is interesting that the word Tara has come down through generations. But the word Tara actually means star.
Yeah.
So as I started to write the story, it was like I was seeing a movie.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was in the story, that I was actually a member of the Galactic Council at that time, this woman called Enya from Sirius. Okay. And it was her role and responsibility with another team from Sirius and also the Lyons to create the original human DNA and to help bring the humans to Earth. So she came to Earth, but so did we. Yes. You see, many people, if you call them people, they were people. They weren't human people. Yeah. They were star people. Yeah. But many beings from planets like stars like Pleiades, Lyra, Sirius, they chose to let go of their lifetimes in these star systems and come to Earth, be born on Earth, and take on the human DNA. Yes. So when we as beings took on human DNA, we couldn't leave the Earth for all this long period of time, because the Earth was vibrating at a third-dimensional energy pulsation, of third-dimensional frequency. Yes. Tara had been fifth-dimensional frequency, but because of something called the rebellion of the fallen angels, the energy of Tara contracted and dropped down.
That was the time of Atlantis and Lemuria.
Exactly. So Atlantis and Lemuria was, that really began around 100,000 years ago or more. Yeah. With Lemuria, Mu. Mu is a word which means the mother. So Mu was actually the motherland, and Atlantis was an offshoot of Mu, a colony of Mu. And so we as star beings came to these star colonies, Mu or Atlantis, to begin our incarnations in human form. And once we were in these human bodies, we were destined, if you like, to stay in the karmic wheel of life and death and life and death, being incarnated as humans until this time now. This time now is the time when we can release ourselves from this karmic wheel of life and death as human beings, and we can actually go home if we choose.
I mean, it was a good experiment for us, because we were coming here to learn, right? So we're coming here, we'd never learned if we didn't come here and have those experiences, whether it be light or dark. So it was a good experience. So and people say to us, oh, this new age. It's actually not new age, because we were always fifth dimension. We dropped down to 3 and now we're going back up.
Going back up.
We're going back up, and we already have those light codes, right? So those light codes from when our energies were already at fifth dimensional energy, we drop down to 3. So as we then get rid of the trials, the traumas, the heavy weights in our bodies, and we shift back up, those light codes should automatically be able to go back on, right? If we intend them to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think part of my role is that I speak energy words, I transmit energy words that activate the light codes within us to switch back on. Because I work with, I guess you could call them energy words of new creation. These are, in the beginning was the word. God created with the word, and the word is energy, really. So we're being recreated with energy. New words are being spoken, whether these are energy words that are coming with just energies coming to the planet. But I just have this role, which is about activating DNA, activating DNA potential within human beings to switch on. That's part of what I do. And I speak these words.
And again, as I said to you earlier on, we were talking, like originally when I started on my role of being a Reiki teacher, and I was teaching, I started teaching, that was 2012 for me. You'd only written that book. I hadn't read that book at that point. And my first year of doing Reiki classes, where I was teaching people how to, just do self-healing first, then they went to level 2 and became practitioners. And then my first Reiki master started to channel in English. And I was like, oh, she was speaking to me in English, so I could understand that because we were both speaking English, but she wasn't the same girl. And this is Catty, who was Stephanie, who we know. Stephanie's my sister-in-law, who's bringing you over to Ireland. It's her auntie. So there was like a step down in the family. They all came to me. So Catty came, then she brought Stephanie. Then they all started. So not only Stephanie, Catty, so many of my students started to speak light language. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Because I wasn't speaking at that point. So then I had to message my auntie who taught me how to do Reiki. And she said, Hazel, they're speaking it over here as well. My auntie was doing 40 years of Reiki training and never had this. It all sort of started to awake in 2012, obviously with the shifting. Yeah. So we're all awakening now to learn, go back to remembering that we already have it.
Yes. And this is interesting because 2012 was a shift, big shift. But it's not as big as 2020. 2020 was next big shift. And then as we begin this next 3-year cycle of 2023, 24, 25, this is a massive shift. So I expect that many people will remember, wake up to their truth, become activated just automatically and completely out of the blue. Into not being the way they were in the past. It's like we're being remade anew. We're literally being remade anew with light.
Yes.
And it's really...
People understand that the energy of the negative energy is heavy. And the more that we release that, where before, and I suppose maybe it's because it's Catholic Ireland here for us, there was lots of people who held and suppressed so much here because there was a fear of letting go, a fear of crying, a fear of letting out emotion, where now people see it as it's not a bad thing. And even when it goes from the divine feminine, divine masculine, you see a lot more men now stepping into the roles of doing what we do. You know, so there's massive shifting on all levels where we're all stepping into it. And I see so many, and now even men becoming light language channels. And not only light language channels, but light language coding. You see on Instagram now, it's all over the place, doing coding with their hands, or it's like Morse coding, where it's this sound, where it's actually not a language, it's a sound like dee, 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 like a sound like a Morse coding.
Yes, I totally agree. Like, we're really, and this is really why I wanted to do that Tuesday night event, which is absolutely free of charge, because I want to work with the people who come to activate their potential, to clear the karmic dross that holds us back. Because you see, what a lot of people don't know is that the energy that we're vibrating with in our energy field, because we are energy beings, will directly affect how we think and feel about life, about ourselves, about our reality. It's like we are locked into this small time model of ourselves energetically because of the karmic trauma experiences that we've had in other lifetimes. Because if you've been, say, burned at the stake or had something bad happen to you, that energy tension is held in your soul DNA, which comes into this physical body in this lifetime. And so what I would like to do with the people that come on the Tuesday night, Hazel, is I want to bring energies through that are going to completely take that out really instantly, like quickly, permanently. And I'd really like to just, maybe if I just speak some language now to open the heart.
Amazing.
And so that people, you know, if you've never heard this rather weird sounding words that I speak, it is different. You know, more people are speaking light language now, but I want to do this energy work now to just, so if you feel this in your heart, then you'll know the truth of who you are. Because as I lift this energy from your heart that may be locking you into anxiety, there's a lot of people feeling anxious at the moment. And they're feeling anxious because life is changing on the inner planes of who we are. And we haven't got any reference points out there in our world. And then we have all the things that we've got to do in our human day-to-day life affecting us as well. And it's really scary. So I'll just do this energy work now and see